In Panama City, Florida, Friday, they launched New York City's newest fireboat. Christened 343 to honor the 343 firefighters who perished in the attack on the World Trade Center. But the story our Rita Braver has to tell you this morning is about a very old New York fireboat, how it found its way into the history books.
The red and white boat catches your eye as it churns along the Hudson. Then suddenly, this is just for fun. But in her day, the fireboat John J. Harvey, with the power of 20 fire trucks, was the toast of New York Harbor. She heroically battled blazes that broke out on cargo unloaded on the city's piers.
You'd have barrels of naphtha, highly flammable petroleum, next to cotton on a pier that was built of wood, on wooden piles, soaked in oil. So something would start and they'd burn all the time. So that
Huntley Gill is one of the John J. Harvey's current owners. And by the way, this gasoline-powered vessel was named for a fireboat captain who died on the job. This boat was built in what year?
1931. She's the first large, modern fireboat built in America, in that everything before her was steam. I mean, that's the era. It's really quite incredible.
But incredible or not, in 1994, New York City decided that the Harvey was over the hill and took her out of service. 6 years later, she was to be auctioned off for scrap. That's when Gill, a preservation architect, and a group of about 20 friends heard about it.
It was a bunch of us who reached into our own pockets and said, this is just too interesting not to do. I think we might have been inebriated when that happened. I've forgotten now, but it was...
Your bid was for how much?
$28,010, because we heard a rumor that somebody was bidding 28. As it turns out, the next lowest bid was $10,006.
Did you guys have any idea how expensive it would be once you had it to run
we were totally deluded. But then, of course, it's like a love affair. Once you're in it, there's nothing you can do.
When you put the pipe wrench on the valve, you start forcing it.
When Tim Ivory, known as the man who can fix anything, hired on, he found the Harvey's mechanical systems in pretty good shape.
It needed about 12 hours of love, and then from that point, we had some things running.
And so the Harvey, now operated as a non-profit, was on the water again, manned mostly by volunteers, like Captain John Lenny, who'd actually worked on the fireboat for 31 years and retired when she went out of service.
Oh yeah, this is the best boat. The ones on other boats think that theirs is the best, but this is the best.
Jessica DuLong, a .com manager who'd never even crewed before, worked her way up to chief engineer.
I'm standing surrounded by 5 big, powerful diesel engines. I love that.
The pickup crew and the Harvey stayed busy, celebrating harbor events and showing off for school kids. Then, September 11th, 2001. Gill heard from another co-owner.
He called the fire department and said, you guys need help. And they said, God knows we need all the help we can get. Just go down there and see if you can be of any use.
Their first assignment was to help evacuate Lower Manhattan.
It's like the floodgates have opened. People poured onto the boat, and we started heading north. As we're going north, this guy in the fire department sees this fireboat going by and says, we need them.
With hydrants blocked on land, hoses had already been strung from the city's 2 other fireboats, the river providing an unlimited water supply. Of course, the Harvey hadn't fought fires in years, and the crew member assigned to check out the 20 hose valves found a problem.
He got all the way around on this thing, and there was just 2 that worked.
gosh.
But Tim Ivory, himself a former firefighter, was able to jury-rig a solution.
It was just, let's try this, and for all I know, it could have failed miserably. Maybe it was divine intervention. I don't know.
And actually, the trees that are there, we were tied up to the trees.
The Harvey kept at it for 3 days, pumping some 38 million gallons. Engineer Jessica DuLong has documented the boat's 9/11 roll in a new book.
I could see that this boat was doing the job that it was built to do, and that was just overwhelming to me.
You put everything else aside, the tragedy aspect of it, you block out, otherwise you're not functional. You kind of focus on what's the next step of the job.
And so the story of the John J. Harvey has a happy ending, recognition in the Congressional Record, and a slew of awards.
Every fireboat and every boat built since 1931 owes her a debt in technology and in thinking and design. That's an artifact that if you can keep it alive and if you can keep it working, now that's a job of work, as my grandfather would have said. That's really a great thing.
Next, the new season at the movies. We'll bring the candy.